By the time most shoppers notice what is quietly happening to these 12 pantry items, the most affordable window to stock them will already be closing. That is not a guess, it is math. On May 22, 2026, the U.S. Department of Agriculture updated its food price outlook with the latest Consumer Price Index data. The numbers paint a clear picture. Grocery prices overall are projected to rise 3.4% this year. But that number hides the real story, because certain categories are climbing 2, 3, even 4 times faster than that average. Beef is forecast to jump 12.1%, sugar and sweets, 8.1%. Fresh vegetables spiked 3.1% in a single month. And here's the part that matters. 2 of the 12 items on this list are things most households buy every single week without thinking twice. And one of them, number 1 on this countdown, has seen the most dramatic price movement of any pantry item in a generation. Every claim in this video is sourced to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the World Bank, or published industry data. No guesswork, no panic. Just the numbers, and what you can quietly do about them this week. Let us begin. Number 12, canned tomatoes. There is a Wednesday evening coming, and it is coming sooner than you think, where you will stand at the stove needing a base for soup, a quick pasta sauce, or a casserole that feeds 4 without a trip to the store. The can of tomatoes sitting at the back of your shelf handles that evening without drama. And right now, canned tomatoes are still priced at what feels normal. But the category they belong to, processed fruits and vegetables, is forecast to rise above its 20-year historical average this year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. California produces the vast majority of processing tomatoes sold in American supermarkets, and supply pressures from the growing season are working their way through the pipeline right now. Canned tomatoes maintain quality for 2 to 5 years when stored in a cool, dry place, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Food Keeper Guidelines. A case of 24 cans costs roughly what a single restaurant dinner costs and will anchor dozens of meals. Store them on a low shelf away from heat. They are patient. They will wait for you. Number 11, dry pasta. Think about the last time you needed a meal in under 15 minutes. Something that fills up a teenager, stretches for unexpected guests, or just gets dinner handled on a night when the fridge is looking thin. Pasta does that job for pennies per serving. Cereal and bakery product prices, which include pasta and bread, are rising in 2026, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, though at a pace below the 20-year average. That sounds reassuring until you consider the baseline. Wheat prices globally have been volatile for 2 years straight, and manufacturers have been absorbing costs that are now starting to show up at the shelf in quiet per-box increases. The beauty of dry pasta is that it stores almost indefinitely when kept in airtight containers. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Food Keeper database confirms that dried pasta maintains quality for 1 to 2 years, but it remains perfectly safe well beyond that window. Buy what your household uses in a month and multiply by 6. Different shapes, different brands, stored in a bin in the back of your pantry. It costs you nothing to hold. Number 10, cooking oils. Here is one piece of genuinely good news buried in the data. The fats and oils category overall is actually predicted to decline in 2026 compared to 2025, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That is one of only 3 food categories where prices are expected to drop this year. But there is a catch. Olive oil, which had been at extreme record highs driven by devastating droughts across Spain, Italy, and Greece, is just beginning to come back down. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Foreign Agricultural Service confirmed that olive oil imports into the United States picked up as Spain's recovered 2025-2026 harvest eased pricing pressure. If you have been putting off buying olive oil because the price felt impossible, this may be the best window you have had in 2 years. For canola and vegetable oil, the declining prices mean right now is genuinely the moment to stock up. Buy the largest container you can store and use within a year. Oils do go rancid, so do not overbuy. But locking in a declining price before seasonal cooking demand pushes things back up is quiet, sensible household budgeting. Number 9, canned fish. Tuna, salmon, and sardines. There is a lunch that costs $1.50 and delivers 30 grams of complete protein. No cooking required. No refrigeration needed until you open the can. It sits on your shelf for 2 to 5 years and asks nothing of you until the moment you need it. Fish and seafood prices are forecast to rise above the 20-year historical average this year, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. In a single month, from March to April 2026, fish and seafood prices increased 1.5%. That is a sharp monthly jump for a category most shoppers overlook. And there is the shrinkflation issue. Several major brands have reduced their standard can from 6 ounces to 5. Same label, same look on the shelf, less product. You pay the same or more for less food. If you have noticed your cans feeling lighter recently, you are not imagining it. Canned salmon with bones is one of the most nutrient-dense, affordable protein sources available. Research published by Tufts University confirms that the calcium content in bone-in canned salmon is significantly higher than in boneless varieties. Stock a variety: tuna for sandwiches, salmon for patties and pasta, sardines for the omega-3s. Buy what your household actually eats. Number 8. Rice. There is a kind of meal that every household falls back on when the budget gets tight: rice and beans, rice and a fried egg, rice under leftover stew. It is the quiet backbone of affordable eating worldwide, and it is still one of the best deals in the grocery store, for now. Global rice prices remain elevated following the export restrictions several major producing countries imposed in 2023 and 2024. Those restrictions tightened global supply and pushed prices to levels that have not fully come back down. The U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations have tracked this pattern. Prices settled at what analysts are calling a new normal, meaningfully higher than where they were 3 years ago. White rice stored properly in airtight containers in a cool, dry location can last 25 to 30 years, according to research from Utah State University Extension. That is not a typo. 2 to 3 decades. A 20-pound bag costs roughly $10 to $12, approximate and varies by region, and provides dozens of meals. Brown rice has a shorter storage life because of the oils in the bran, so if long storage is the goal, white rice is the better choice. I am betting most households are already feeling the beef prices, but have not noticed what is happening with sugar yet. Am I right? Or is it sugar that is hitting your grocery bill harder? Drop it below. I read every comment. Number 7. Butter. Think about Thanksgiving morning. Think about a Saturday where you are making pancakes for grandchildren, or a Tuesday where the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons and the butter dish is empty. Butter is one of those ingredients you do not think about until the moment you reach for it and it is not there. Here's the situation. Dairy prices overall are actually predicted to decline in 2026, which is good news. But butter specifically has been sitting at elevated levels for 2 years, driven by dairy economics that are complex but ultimately simple in their effect. Milk prices, feed costs, and processing costs all went up, and butter absorbed more of that increase than most other dairy products. The smart move is this: butter freezes beautifully. The U.S. Department of Agriculture confirms it maintains quality in the freezer for up to 12 months with no loss. Wrap it well, put it in a freezer bag, and forget about it. If you have freezer space, buying an extra 2 to 4 pounds of butter right now and freezing it is one of the lowest effort, highest return moves you can make for your kitchen budget this summer. If any of this is helping you think differently about your grocery budget, a quick like helps this reach more households in the same situation. No pressure. Let us keep going. Number 6. Coffee. There is a morning routine that most American adults depend on. Before the news, before the phone, before the day begins, there is coffee. And the economics of that quiet morning ritual have shifted dramatically. The U.S. Department of Agriculture projects non-alcoholic beverage prices will rise 5.2% in 2026, driven in significant part by coffee. Behind that number is a global story. Arabica coffee prices surged approximately 50% in 2025, according to the World Bank, following severe weather disruptions in Brazil and a 20% production drop in Vietnam. Brazil experienced its worst drought in recorded history across coffee-growing regions. Vietnam, the world's largest Robusta producer, faced prolonged drought conditions. Now, there is a nuance here that matters. The World Bank projects Arabica prices will decline about 13% in 2026 as production recovers, especially in Colombia. Brazil's 2026-2027 crop is projected at a record 75.3 million bags, up over 20% from the prior year, according to the commodity analysts at StoneX. That is genuinely encouraging. But here is the part most shoppers will miss. Commodity prices and retail shelf prices do not move at the same speed. The 50% surge from 2025 is still flowing through the supply chain to your grocery shelf right now. By the time retail prices reflect the recovery in global production, you will have spent months paying the elevated prices. The smart window is right now. Buy your regular coffee. Buy a little extra. Whole beans freeze well for 6 to 12 months when properly sealed. Number 5. Sugar and baking supplies. There is a moment in every kitchen when you reach for the sugar canister and discover it is almost empty. Maybe you are making sweet tea. Maybe it is a birthday cake. Maybe it is just the 2 tablespoons for your morning oatmeal that add up faster than you expect. Sugar and sweets are the second fastest rising food category in the United States right now. The U.S. Department of Agriculture initially forecast a 6.7% increase for 2026. In their May 2026 update, they revised that upward to 8.1%. That is not a small adjustment. Sugar and sweets were already 6.3% higher in April 2026 than in April 2025. The U.S. Department of Agriculture notes that prices have increased primarily for candy and chewing gum, a subcomponent that includes most types of chocolate candy. But granulated sugar, brown sugar, powdered sugar, and baking supplies all live in the same cost ecosystem. When you see prices that still feel normal to you on the shelf right now, that is the price catching up. It has not finished catching up yet. Buy a 10 or 20-pound bag of granulated sugar, stored in an airtight container in a cool, dry place. It lasts essentially forever. Sugar does not spoil. It is one of the most cost-efficient pantry investments you can make right now. Number 4. Beef. There is a Sunday where you want to make chili, a weeknight where tacos sound right, a slow cooker day where stew meat simmers for 6 hours while you do something else. Beef is woven into the meal rotation of most American households, and it is the single most expensive category in the grocery store right now. Beef and veal prices are forecast to increase 12.1% in 2026, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That is the highest projected increase of any food category they track. In April 2026, beef prices were 14.8% higher than they were in April 2025. Ground beef specifically is up 19.3% year over year. In a single month, March to April 2026, beef prices jumped 3.1%. The reason is structural. The U.S. cattle herd has been declining in size since 2019, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Consumer demand has remained strong even as supplies tightened. Fewer cattle plus strong demand equals higher prices, and there is no quick fix. Rebuilding a cattle herd takes years, not months. If your household eats beef, the most effective thing you can do right now is buy ground beef and stew cuts in bulk when they go on sale and freeze them. Properly wrapped ground beef maintains quality in the freezer for 3 to 4 months. The price you lock in today is almost certainly lower than the price you will see in August or September. Number 3. Frozen vegetables. There is a version of healthy eating that does not require a trip to the farmer's market, does not require anything to be in season, and does not require you to use it before it wilts in the crisper drawer. Frozen vegetables are that version, and they are one of the most underrated categories in the grocery store. Fresh vegetable prices jumped 3.1% in a single month from March to April 2026. For the full year, the U.S. Department of Agriculture forecasts fresh vegetable prices will rise 4.8%. Those are significant numbers for a category that affects every household trying to eat well on a budget. Frozen vegetables are often nutritionally comparable to or even superior to fresh because they are flash frozen at peak ripeness. They cost less per serving. They last months in the freezer. And right now, large bags from Costco, Walmart, or Aldi still represent genuinely strong value. Peas, corn, broccoli, spinach, mixed vegetables. Buy what your household actually uses. Fill your freezer while the prices still feel manageable. When fresh vegetable prices spike further this summer, your freezer will be the backup plan your grocery budget needs. Number 2. Spices and seasonings. There is a reason your grandmother's spice cabinet was never half empty. She understood something that gets lost in modern grocery shopping. Spices are the difference between food you eat because you have to and food you look forward to. And they are quietly expensive in a way most shoppers do not track. Spices are heavily imported. Black pepper comes primarily from Vietnam and India, cinnamon from Sri Lanka and Indonesia, cumin from India and the Middle East. Each of these origins has faced some combination of weather disruption, supply chain challenges, or export pressure in recent years. The result is a category that has become quietly more expensive, and because you buy spices in small jars, the per-unit increase does not trigger the same sticker shock as a package of ground beef. But here's the math that works in your favor. Whole spices, stored in sealed jars away from heat and light, maintain potency for 3 to 4 years according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture Food Keeper guidelines. Ground spices hold for 1 to 3 years. A $40 investment in full jars of your everyday spices, cumin, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder, cinnamon, Italian seasoning, black pepper, gives you a fully stocked spice supply for 1 to 2 years. That same $40 will cost you $55 or $60 by late summer if the current pricing trends continue. Number 1. Chocolate and cocoa products. I saved this one for last because it tells the biggest story on this list, and it is a story that most American households have not fully registered yet. There is a moment that happens in millions of households. It is a rainy Sunday and someone wants brownies. It is a holiday and there are cookies to make. It is just an ordinary evening, and a square of dark chocolate with a cup of tea is the small, quiet comfort that makes the day feel complete. Chocolate is not a survival food. It is something better. It is a reminder that eating well is not just about nutrition. It is about the small pleasures that make a kitchen feel like home. And it is becoming dramatically more expensive. The U.S. Department of Agriculture reports that sugar and sweets, the category that includes most chocolate candy and baking cocoa, is forecast to rise 8.1% in 2026. But that number understates what is happening specifically to chocolate. The International Cocoa Organization has documented severe harvest shortfalls in West Africa, where the majority of the world's cocoa is grown. Global cocoa prices reached record levels. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's own summary notes that prices have increased primarily for candy and chewing gum, the subcomponent that captures most chocolate products. If you bake with cocoa powder, buy an extra container now. If your household buys chocolate bars or baking chocolate regularly, stock what you will use in the next 6 months. Cocoa powder stored in a cool, dry, airtight container maintains quality for 2 to 3 years. This is one of those items where the price you see today will look like a bargain by December. Here is the pattern that ties all 12 of these items together. We are not looking at one disruption or one bad harvest. We are looking at a food price outlook from the U.S. Department of Agriculture that identifies 9 different grocery categories rising faster than their 20-year historical average, all at the same time. Beef driven by cattle herd contraction, sugar driven by global commodity pressure, coffee driven by climate disruptions in Brazil and Vietnam, fresh vegetables spiked by processing and energy costs. These are separate causes producing the same result: higher prices at your grocery store this summer. And there is an honest thing worth saying too. Not everything is going up. Eggs are forecast to decline nearly 30% this year. Dairy overall is declining. Fats and oils are trending downward. This is not a story about everything getting worse. It is about knowing which specific items are moving and making small, smart decisions before the movement reaches your shelf. This video is for educational purposes. It is not financial advice, medical advice, or a prediction of any specific event. All prices mentioned are approximate and vary by region and retailer. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Food Price Outlook is a forecast with a range of possible outcomes, not a guarantee. This video is not saying you need to panic or buy more than your household can use. It is saying the data is public, the trends are clear, and a few trips to the store this week can save you real money over the next 6 months. Here is the prescription. On your next 2 grocery trips, pick up 2 extra items from this list that your household already uses. Not all 12, just 2. Maybe an extra bag of sugar and a pound of butter for the freezer. Maybe a case of canned tomatoes and a bag of rice. Total cost? Under $20. That is it. Small, quiet, done. Let me run through all 12 one more time. Number 12, canned tomatoes. Number 11, dry pasta. Number 10, cooking oils. Number 9, canned fish. Number 8, rice. Number 7, butter. Number 6, coffee. Number 5, sugar and baking supplies. Number 4, beef. Number 3, frozen vegetables. Number 2, spices and seasonings. And number 1, chocolate and cocoa products. Which one item on this list are you going to look at differently on your next grocery trip? Tell me below. Take care.